Um, I'm a parenting coach for working mums of autistic and ADHD children up to 11 years old. Um, my son, I nicknamed him Bookosaurus. See if you can guess why. If you can work it out. Yeah, he's bright and quirky, and he's autistic with ADHD. And I just, when autism was first mentioned, I just felt really on my own. My husband, bless him, was on a different acceptance journey, and I was like, yeah, I don't want other mums to feel that way because it's so much to get your head round
Yeah.
and process. And you go through, as we were saying, so many different thoughts and
Mm,
feelings. And I didn't know how to best support my son.
yeah.
And I just sort of went round in circles. And yeah, as I said, I just felt really kind of on my own. And it was up to me to kind of make all the decisions of whether he needed support, where to go for it. And I just didn't have any friends or family who'd been through a similar experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got so much sort of going on, so many different sensory needs
Yeah.
and the pressures of school and what they can be just really worried about going through the school door, getting over the threshold
Yeah.
or the nursery door,
Yeah.
and they've got to get dressed and they've got to eat things and move from one room to another, and all those things are potentially challenges for them. And then on the other hand, we're trying to, get them moving, we know we've got that pressure of getting to work.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can be quite a lot of stress and,
Mm,
yeah, quite a lot of challenges in the morning
mm,
yeah, to get them there. So if I can just sort of share a few very practical tips
yeah.
and ease that that challenge in the morning, then absolutely here for mums.
Yeah. When just going back to the moment that somebody suggested autism, what was your understanding of autism at that time? And had you noticed any shifts in Bookosaurus's behaviour or patterns of behaviour, should I say, that you were kind of more aware of?
Had very little knowledge of autism or ADHD when it was mentioned to myself and my husband.
Hmm.
I noticed that well, at nursery, they'd said that he wasn't meeting his milestones, but that he had this huge vocabulary, and bright, but he, couldn't do sort of what seems maybe simple things like hold a crayon or cut with scissors. That he just moved he moved around constantly. And they'd already mentioned stimming to me, which is a repetitive action.
Yeah.
One of his big things is he runs back and forwards to calm and regulate
Mm,
himself. So I had yeah, there were things, sort of sensory processing had been mentioned,
yeah.
and I was actually incredibly worried about him going from nursery to infant school
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure how he was gonna cope, and I sort of said a little bit to the school, but yeah, at that point, we didn't know that much about it.
Mm,
So yeah, it was a really big shock when they said, "You might want to look into autism," and they kind of listed, things that he was pulling other children's hair, he was knocking things over, other children's, toys,
yeah.
and it's horrible hearing those things about your
Mm,
child and not really understanding why, and you feel so guilty, about how it's affecting other people, the other children. You feel like a bad parent, that it's somehow your fault.
mm,
So, yeah. Yeah, my husband and I were both in in tears in the
Yeah. Such an unknown as well, like you said, because, just not knowing who to turn to, what that path is going to look like,
Mm,
and as you say, feeling very alone and isolated in that room. And then somehow you have managed to come out of that and turn your attention to celebrating and championing and supporting other parents who are going through this process. And as you say, learning to love autism, which is so
yeah.
special. So, did you get support as you started to move through the process? Like, who did you reach out to, and what sorts of resources did you find? And how did creativity play a part in that?
So we got some support when he was at nursery. Yeah, a lady came in from the council and observed him. And we started using a now and next board. So he got to, choose an activity or do a little workstation, do this and do a puzzle, and then you get to do something that you like, and then you do this. So yeah, that's sort of, and then so I used that at home, and I had my own little piece of cardboard and, different, different choices on there that
Yeah.
he could use. So that was, yeah, we got nursery were very supportive. Um, and then at school, although that was a difficult time, they were very, very supportive, and carried on with the now next board.
Yeah.
I think at home, particularly during COVID, because he was at home with me. The first time round was terrible,
Oh my gosh.
but the second time, I made a decision that I wasn't going to work in the morning, and then I managed to work it out with work. So I was looking after in the morning, and my husband was sort of looking after him for
Yeah.
part of the afternoon. So I kind of took on the teacher role,
Yeah.
as many of us did. And I really quite enjoyed it, actually. Though for some parents it was, yeah, not a great experience.
Mm.
So doing things like, because, he really needs movement, so he wouldn't sit at that time, he wouldn't sit in front of a screen for very long, and a lot of the
Mm.
teaching with the teachers was over a screen.
Yeah.
So I got him out in the garden, and we would do his like letter sounds. But again, I would have them, he would be one end of the garden, I would be the other end of the garden, and I'd have them all written out on pieces of card, and he'd run to the end of the garden, grab the ch sound,
I love
and then
it.
bring it back to me. And then we do things like putting them on the ground in the living room. Maybe it's numbers or something, and he'd have to jump from one number
Yes.
to another. So you do, yeah, you start to get creative with parenting,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, helping them to learn.
Mm.
And it's
And it
using,
sounds very sort of child-led as well, so playing into what they're interested in, and those little hooks, I think, are
yeah,
key, aren't they?
absolutely. I go very much with Bookosauruses, strengths and interests. So I will hide pictures of like superheroes around the house,
Brilliant. I love it.
and along with like a letter or a number or something to make up a word, and then we'll
Yes.
go on a treasure hunt and find the superheroes, because he loves Marvel and
Yeah.
all things superheroes. So yeah, absolutely. If you go with their strengths, dinosaurs, or that's what catches their interest, and works really well, um, throughout parenting. Um,
Mm.
I do a lot of that.
Well, I mean, there's 3 ideas there already that parents can try, you know, so
Absolutely.
that's amazing, thank you. And I think it's about meeting the child where they are And we know that in school are rules and routines, and quite often children with autism and ADHD, they find those rules and regulations and those routines really restrictive. And sitting at desks doesn't always work. They do need that movement and those movement breaks. And so I think it's important that schools work with parents and try and find a way to support that individual child.
Absolutely, and they are all individual, just as everybody is. And yes, I've learned to build relationships with many different people, but yes, particularly school, because you have. Well, I find it incredibly helpful to work with school, work with Bucosaurus's teachers, and build those relationships. And also, I know we say about we know our child best, and that we don't always feel that way, but I think I've learned a lot well, about Bucosaurus and become more intuitive and creative.
Really?
And you do have to advocate for your child, and but because teachers, they're very busy. They have lots of children to teach. They don't always get, the training that would make things a lot easier. But yeah, we can say to them, this works for Bucosaurus. Movement breaks work for Bucosaurus. Visuals work for my
Mm.
child.
Yeah.
Movement break cards. Present a movement break card to your
Yes.
teacher, and then it's really simple, and they know, okay,
Mm.
you need to go outside for a little bit.
And I think that becomes really tricky, doesn't it? When, as you were saying, if there's the teacher and the TA in that room and they've got, say, 25, 30 children, and making sure that they have capacity to take that child out for a movement break
Yeah, it's not.
whilst keeping the rest of the lesson sort of ticking along. Those moments are really hard, aren't they? But as you say, if they are aware of the things that are needed to support that child, then they should be able to accommodate that.
Yes,
But
and
we need more TAs, we need more
yeah,
people training, as teaching assistants,
absolutely.
and in SEN. And like you said, that training is so important. And there's
Yeah.
there's loads of different courses out there that we can signpost people to in the show notes if people are interested in doing that. When you say that you've become more creative and intuitive, can you just give some context as to what you were doing before you started learning to love autism? Because you've been on a journey, haven't you, yourself?
Ha I have, yes. So so I used to work in local government. Yeah, very different. And, so I was, a community development worker. I did lots of partnership working with, other organisations, the police and, the Nepalese community and different faith groups. And yes, equality and diversity. But I also did, and I enjoyed all of that. And it sort of got to that point in my career, and I was thinking, uh, I want to be a manager. I want to help other people. So I went for a promotion. I changed councils, and yeah, became a manager. A lot of people relate to this. It wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. And I actually started, moving away from the community and the people that I wanted to help. And I just got to the stage where I just felt really trapped in a job that it wasn't aligned to me anymore. And I think, that's so important that you're doing something that you enjoy and is about you, is your why. And yeah, at the same time, Bucosaurus was going through diagnosis, and I was filling all the forms out for his EHCP, and he was about sort of 4 going on 5 at this time. And yeah, I was just finding it really, really hard. And I decided to work with a coach, and she was somebody that I kind of already knew. She was actually somebody that had actually brought myself and my husband together, which was, yeah, so yeah,
She's a very special person.
she's a very special person in our lives.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
So, yeah, so I started working with her, and on one of our sessions, she just said to me, "Why don't you just quit your job?" Because I'd said, "I'm just so, I've had enough, and I really just want a break." And she said, "Well, why don't you just quit your job?" And I said, "Oh God, that would be so nice." And then I said, "But I can't do that." But yeah, she helped me. She worked, and I worked through it, and I did quit my job, and that was huge. But I realized kind of just how actually exhausted I was. And I just sort of slept for, once I'd come out of it, just sort of
Mm,
slept for a few weeks.
yeah.
And you do get to that burnout
Yeah.
stage sometimes.
And I think I should imagine that with all of the emotion of everything,
Yes.
you know, it's a tiredness that's beyond sort of needing an 8 o'clock bedtime routine.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
a body, a full body, physical, emotional, spiritual exhaustion. And when you get to that point, the only thing that you can do is rest and sleep and step back. And, it's so brave of you to do that. That's so necessary because it shifted you into the right direction.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, how did learning to love autism then start to evolve?
So my coach, she was encouraging me to look after myself, and look at all the self-care, and sleep, and eat well, and yeah, just generally look after myself. And I hadn't really done that before, because we don't, as mums, we tend to put ourselves last on the list.
Yeah.
But to look after our children and our families, we do need to look after ourselves first. So I started doing that. And then I started to blog about my journey with Bookosaurus. And I started to get, yeah, really into it. And I just sort of discovered my creativity again, just, from being back at school. English was always my favorite, and
Okay.
best subject.
Yeah.
And people were saying to me, I didn't know you could write like that. And have you been on a course?" I
No, I'm
just
just naturally gifted. This is my creative habit.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
And but it was, yeah, really therapeutic,
Yeah.
because I was writing about what I was experiencing with Bookosaurus, play dates, and going through the diagnosis process, and
Mm,
all the emotions that are involved with that, the relief, but oh my goodness, he is autistic. But yeah, getting it down on paper or on the script, typing it
yeah.
out. And I just started to get, and I was putting in tips as well.
Okay.
And all my friends, I was like sharing it with friends on Facebook and things like that. And everybody was coming back and saying, "Oh, I'm really enjoying this." And I'm sitting down and reading my cup, having my cup of tea and reading it. And, the tips are useful for any parents, not
Yeah.
just those of SEND children. And then, yes, again, my coach said to me, "Jo, why don't you help other mums? Why don't you become a coach?" And I thought, wow, yeah, I could help other mums. And, my knowledge was growing, and I've always liked helping other people, and I've always been very good, one to one. And yeah, I started sort of doing it kind of informally, and mums were saying it's just so nice to talk to somebody who's it. And yeah, and then I started training with a local autism charity, who
Okay.
a friend had told me about, and doing their empowering parents course with
Yeah.
this, and then I did their family support worker training and volunteered with them, and my coach was training me up. So
Mm,
yeah, all of this sort of coming together, and I just thought, it's more than just accepting autism. It is about seeing Bookosaurus's strengths
Yeah.
and understanding that, um, okay, he has different challenges and needs,
Yeah.
but he just thinks differently. It's not a deficit. It's a real strength. I mean, he
Mm.
has an incredible mind, an incredible memory.
Yeah.
He can reel off hundreds of trains to me. He's
Really?
got a real interest in steam trains and diesel
Yeah.
trains. He can read something very quickly, take all the information in, and then regurgitate it and tell us all
Wow.
about it.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. They are, yeah. And I've talked to a lot of different people. I think I have, from going to knowing nobody with autism, I just bump into people now all the time. I'm like a magnet for,
You're a magnet. I love that.
yeah, anybody with a connection with
Yeah.
autism. And they tell me their stories. And I love listening
Yeah.
to their stories. And, adults too, of how they've, built a business or they found coping mechanisms. They use a scheduler or a day planner, or,
Yeah.
they have alarms just if they're ADHD, just to stop them flitting from kind of one thing
Yeah.
to another.
Because Bookosaurus has autism, but also ADHD as well.
He
So they're
does.
combined. And
Yes.
so that will obviously present further challenges because
Yes.
there is an inattentiveness or a hyperactivity. So it's either one or the other, although you can have both as well, can't you? In ADHD, I
Yeah,
think.
he's both inattentive and hyper.
So how does that present itself then in his patterns of behavior?
So he does flit from one thing to another.
Yeah,
But again, so he can be reading a book and watching a screen at the same time.
yeah,
He has huge energy, so he does need that throughout the day, that regular movement.
yeah.
But it can be difficult to get him to concentrate on one thing, and it can be more of sort of short bursts. But again, routines and that really helps him, and that's, I know, what they use at school as well. That he'll, it's going at his own pace and allowing him processing time, and small group work works better for him than being like in a mainstream classroom.
Do you have certain things that you do every day that help him? Or do you have to get creative with changing things up and surprising him every now and again? Because I have to do that with my little one. It's like
Yeah.
one thing that worked yesterday
Yes.
does won't
Yeah.
work today.
Yes. Yeah. It is both of those. Yeah. We have our routine, and he does like his screens.
Yeah. Don't we all?
So yeah, we do. So just, getting him from one room to another. Our routine now is that he will take a book. So from the bedroom to the bathroom, books are his sort of comfort. So he will take a book from the bedroom to the bathroom to then, clean his teeth. Quite often we will read a bit of the book before he's then ready to do anything else. We also have a trampoline in the dining room.
Do you? Oh my gosh, I need to invest in a trampoline in my dining room. That sounds so much fun.
Yeah, it's that really gives him that sort of touchy feely impact
Yes.
into his body that he doesn't get naturally. It's called proprioceptive sensory input. And yeah, so that's again part of our morning routine. So I will say to him, "Oh, do you need to have a bounce?" Or sometimes
Yeah.
he'll just jump on the trampoline.
Yeah.
So yeah, using a book and reading, um, and we have a set routine that, gets him from sort of one place to another. If we're having if he's got things on his mind, um, we had one day sort of during the winter where I thought he was okay. It was the end of the holiday. It might have been like February half term. he said a couple of little things, but I thought, "No, he's absolutely fine." But then he wouldn't go into school in the morning, and you kind of think, "Well, yeah, he's fine. I can't think of anything." But he was absolutely adamant he wasn't going into school, which is not like him. But I know there is always a trigger, um, to his behaviour, to any child's behaviour. And, it's very it's very frustrating when you try to get to work, and so and we do this thing of, we try sort of to convince them that, they really do want to go into school. But actually the thing to do is sort of step back and be calm ourselves and not rush things.
Mm.
So we just went for I rang school, but we just went for a walk, and we got to there's a pond that's very near us, and he wanted to crack the ice with a stick.
Okay.
So I clung onto him on the side
Yeah.
of the I'm not recommending this, but and he cracked the ice, but it was just a way of sort of displacement
Yes.
approach. So just getting them to relax and do something else, and not put pressure on him to tell me why
Yeah.
he didn't want to go into school. So he was just cracking the ice, and then I started to ask him some questions and see how he was feeling, and then it all kind of flooded out all the reasons why he didn't want to go into school. And I think there just been some changes at school, and there were several different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, school were really supportive, and we went in and we had a did manage to get him in to have a meeting with his teacher, and we managed to
Yeah.
yeah, sort it all out. Yeah, so those doing those sort of things, and it's very tricky, but try and take the pressure off them and ourselves. Um, and that's when they'll open up.
Mm. And I think for anyone who's listening who's perhaps, has experienced that themselves, of the frustration of needing to get their child into school and needing to get to work or have an appointment or something. And in that moment, just stepping back and, you know, or you've been there. So all of these experiences when you're talking to people who come to your workshops or who work with you in a coaching capacity, really feel that you're with them side by side and there's no judgment, there's no pressure, there's no expectation, you are completely just allowing them to feel what they feel. It's like the card that came up when we chatted last week. It's
Yeah,
okay to feel how you feel.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I'm that neutral space.
Exactly.
That people, mums can talk to me. Yeah, I know how it feels. And they can just say whatever they like to me. And they can just really, because I'm not their boss, I'm not their mother, I'm not their friend who's going to be maybe a little bit judgmental or doesn't quite
Mm,
understand.
yeah.
And they can just totally open up to me and tell me how they're really thinking and feeling. And yeah, I get it. And then we, I guide them to a solution that's going to work for their child and meet the needs of their child.
Yeah. Because it's, things that work for you and Bookosaurus might not necessarily work for another family, but it sounds very collaborative. The process of creating solutions, listening to what that person, what that family needs, what that mum needs, and spitballing a few ideas and staying open minded and, as you say, looking for the strengths that the child has and drawing on those. Because I think, I've read a few things recently where, opinion is very split, isn't it? Some people will say, this isn't a superpower, it's debilitating, it's stressful, it's frustrating. But then you've got other people that say, actually, this it's about mindset. It is a strength. It is a superpower. We can thrive, you know,
Yeah.
and I think it is just about leaning into those conversations and trying to understand the individuals within the story rather than sort of,
Yes.
do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it is about the individual child, um, mom and parents, and the siblings and involved as well. And we're all different, and we all think differently as well. So neurodiversity is just a different way of the brain functioning. And yeah, I'm always looking for the positives. As I said, I've spoken to so many adults as well about their stories, of people. My brother-in-law doesn't mind me mentioning him, but he's on the spectrum, and he's now an engineer. And he can see, with his amazing brain, he can see processes and patterns, and he can spot things that other people wouldn't. Somebody else mentioned to me their husband, he can spot faces, so he can spot and memorize faces. My mum was telling me, probably quite a few people know, I don't know, that Chris Packham is autistic, and but he's definitely got an amazing brain with all the information
Yes.
about wildlife that he can. Um,
Yeah.
uh, and he had somebody on who was talking about, I think it was bird calls, and he'd collected and memorized and noted down all these different bird calls, all the British, and he had bird calls, and he just had a handful left to get. So there are many strengths and skills that um, a neurodiverse person has. And as long as I think they understand themselves, and
Yeah.
they know that, like Bucosaurus has got an incredible memory, but he finds coordination hard, swimming,
Yeah.
handwriting, those things are tricky, but he knows why those things are tricky. And obviously, a lot of people who are now grown-ups, they didn't know, and they were wondering why they were struggling so much
Mm.
with certain.
And so many people are undiagnosed as well. I mean, I can't remember the figure, but I heard on the radio the other day that there has been a statistic that's been shared by the NHS now of the amount of people who are diagnosed and still waiting diagnoses. And, it must feel so strange knowing that perhaps you do think differently, but don't know where to go for information or, where to go with that,
Yes.
because information and research has come on so much,
Mm,
hasn't it? That we are
it
now in,
has.
in a position where we can diagnose more quickly and, there are resources out there and there are people like you that are working with families. So, we're at a place now where we can only really go from strength to strength, surely.
Uh, yes, I really
Hopefully.
hope. Yes, I
I'm a
really hope
hopeful.
so.
I'm a forever optimist.
Yes, yeah, so much more awareness now, and autism has always been there, and
Yeah.
neurodiversity has always been there. And yeah, people's understanding is growing. And I know there's still a long way to go. Um, yeah, and it is, I think, hard when you don't understand yourself, because, like you said, you don't necessarily know where to go. Yeah, I think, certainly a lot of adults who they've been masking for the majority of their lives, sort of hiding their true selves and trying to be like everybody else. Yeah, so I think it must be liberating, but an awful lot of
Liberating.
questions for people when they sort of, have that light bulb moment. And again, a lot of journey of acceptance as well.
So Bookosaurus loves books. Does he enjoy music? Does he enjoy the arts? How does he express his creativity?
He does like music. We were at a donkey derby earlier in half term, and they had a band playing, and we sat there for sort of 10 minutes, him eating his ice cream, and when quite often I ask him at the end of the day, what was your favorite thing about today? And he said the band, which I wasn't expecting. So he really likes music. We listen to quite a lot of Spotify, and we
Yeah.
dance around in the bedroom
Love
together.
it.
My two of my brothers-in-law, they were jamming and we were at grandma's
Yeah.
last weekend, and one of them was playing the guitar and the other one was singing. And Bookosaurus came along and said, "Can I join in?"
Amazing.
Yeah. And they said, "Oh, well, what do you want to sing about?" So he said, he had a character called Astrobot from
Okay.
PlayStation,
Yeah.
and who's one of his favourites. So yeah, he sung about Astrobot.
Did he just make up the lyrics as he was going
Yeah,
on?
yeah. And my brother-in-law, who's also very good at that, he helped him with the lyrics, and my other brother-in-law played on the guitar. So it's
Yeah.
just, oh, there's wonderful like moments. Yeah, really sweet.
Do you think with him sort of expressing himself in lots of different ways, do you feel like it taps into your playfulness and creativity as well? Because you have to kind of live in the moment, don't you?
You do, yes. I think he has got a lot of me in
Yeah.
him. He's got a lot of a lot of my husband in him as well.
Yeah.
But it's a good combination.
Mm,
So yeah, I think it's really important to live in the moment and enjoy those precious moments when things like that suddenly happen, and you suddenly, yeah, see his creativity come out. And I think, children, they just want to have fun.
they do. I can just imagine now that you've said that you're dancing in your kitchen or your bedroom, sorry, just a house of playful, silly, people loving each other in the best way, that's kind of what I imagine, like lots of laughter. And I'm not saying it's been easy. I know it hasn't been, but you you've embraced it. And I think that says it all, doesn't it?
It does, yes. Yeah, I think yeah, you just got to go with the flow and yeah, embrace it and yeah, enjoy it. And yeah, things become a lot easier and more enjoyable if we do embrace it and yeah, have some fun. And right, we are enough. It doesn't always feel like that, but you're doing a great job. So yeah, and I'm here to help.
Yes, I mean, all of your information I'll put in the show notes, but for those people who are interested in getting in touch and working with you one to one, you're on Instagram. You have got a website as well.
I've got yeah,
You got a website.
www.learningtoloveautism.com, and yeah, I'm on LinkedIn too.
I thought we'd finish with the you got this card. Do you want to?
Yeah, let's go for it. See what comes up.
Yeah, let's see what comes up. I'll give them a really good shuffle. Right, I take the top card.
Okay.
Okay. So, I've had that one before. So, there's two actually. I'll go with the two that came out. So the first one was you are entirely up to you. And the second card that came up is life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself.
Wow. Gosh. Well, I suppose I I have created myself
You have.
in a quite a big way in the last few years.
Yeah.
I'm still me, but I'm now, in alignment,
Yeah.
and I'm doing what I was put here to do, uh, to help mums and children and families.
Yes.
And it's all been a bit of a surprise. But yes, I have, yeah, sort of created myself, yeah, in many sort of different ways.
Card.